remembering when I then got into Goldsmith, it was a shock going back to uni. After
Oh yeah, of
10
course.
years, that was because I qualified as a teacher in 89, so 99, 10 years later,
Wow.
I was going back to school, so to speak.
How did you
And
find it?
I suppose then it was having to learn to use the computer.
Oh yeah, of course.
But that's that's yeah, it wasn't I think after the first module, it then, we got into the swing of it. Yeah.
And it got
But
easier.
it was a culture shock.
What
Yeah.
was your university? What were your university years like?
So my undergrad years, I'd say, because I started uni about 18, 19. So I've always been in education. I think I love education. So give me a few weeks, I'm sure I'll find a course that I want to sign up
God.
onto. But going as an undergrad, I went into uni not knowing anybody. So I went fresh-faced, and the first friend I made is still my friend to this day as well. So I never forget it. It's just going to make you guys laugh. So my parents, we're really, really close, being the last child and only girl as well. So it's now time to move into the university halls. I made sure I was staying in halls because I wanted that full experience. And my parents dropped me off as they do. And all the other freshmen, all their parents had left. It's now time for dinner. My parents are still there, sitting down, having dinner with me, and this new friend that I'd made at uni. And remember, all the parents are long gone. Everyone's excited, letting their hair down. But obviously they're on their P's and Q's because my parents are still around. But I loved it because they were there. And it's now time to kind of get ready to sign off. My parents were still there. My mum even asked me, "Are you sure you're okay for us to go?" And then I started thinking, "Am I okay for them to go?" Because it was gonna be my first time away from home.
Security blanket.
And then my mum was like, you can still phone at any time. My parents went home and called me as soon as they got home to make sure I was okay. And I laugh about it to this day because it's so funny. Everyone's parents was gone, and it was even a joke. People were saying, "Oh, first day of lectures, is your parents here?" And I was looking around and are they here? And I was like, no, they're
Shirelle,
gone.
who's doing a degree? Shirelle and her parents?
Well, I think the degree is all of ours, so it belongs to myself and my parents because they've done so much, especially my social work one. It was different, and they definitely pushed me through to get through that.
So when were they staying with you? Was that for the psychology one?
So that was my undergrad, my first degree, and then my masters, it was pretty much, you're old now, so just go off into the big wide world and just sort yourself out. But we'll check in. But I was still living at home anyway, so it wasn't. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I was already a parent of two.
Oh yeah, of course. You were.
Yeah, but I had to juggle childcare, and I remember
Wow.
going to the library with my two kids, my
Oh,
two sons,
gosh.
and just to get the books, not to sit there,
Oh.
just to borrow the books. So I'll
Oh.
take them along with me and get what I needed, and had to do my studying at night when I put
Wow.
the kids to bed.
How was that? How did you find that, Rose?
It wasn't too bad, to be honest. It wasn't too bad. I suppose I remember we even had group work. I remember bringing my team back home and having to sit in the living room and do because
With your group?
because it was only 10 minutes walk from the university, so
That's good.
it wasn't bad actually. It wasn't.
That's funny, and it's so funny because you're more of a morning person now, Rose. So to hear that you were studying at night,
I know.
that must have been a massive struggle for you.
University just shifts everything.
does.
Like
What
my
about you?
my university years were really stressful because I was working and studying.
Yeah.
So I couldn't afford to go full time. They didn't have bursaries and stuff like that in Jamaica. Well, if they do, I don't know. They probably do, but I probably just don't know. I wasn't privileged to it. So I had to work full time. So I remember my first couple of weeks at uni, I felt like I was dying. What it was is, so there were times when, and I think you kind of overestimate your abilities and overestimate your strength, right?
Yeah.
So I remember booking classes in the morning, going to work, classes in the evening again. And I wasn't driving.
Sorry, you had to book your classes.
Well, you had to book your classes. So you had to pick the classes that you were going to do.
Oh, that's different.
So you picked your core. Well, part of it was that I was part-time.
Oh, so you're picking the modules.
Yeah. So whereas I was working and studying, I had to do it part-time. So it was over 4 years.
Okay.
Right.
And I remember, like I said, I would have to choose the modules. But I mean, my brother and other people have said that it feels like when you study in Jamaica, I don't know about in Uganda, Rose, that it feels like you probably do twice the work. And I think it's
Really?
something about being a third world country, feeling like you have to meet the requirements or compete with, sort of first world countries, if you
Countries.
like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just remember, like I said, going to a class in the morning for like maybe 8, 9 o'clock, doing that class, heading back to work, and then heading back to class again.
Wow.
And I didn't have a car, so I was taking public transportation.
Oh.
So
Was
I
it a
remember,
far distance?
it was about 45 minutes, but because you're changing transportation, well, from where I live to the university, again, it's about 35 minutes, but you're changing transportation, so it's close to an hour each journey. So I remember about 3 weeks in, I felt like I was dying.
Oh,
It
dear.
turned out I was anemic, but I didn't realize.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if perhaps I was anemic all along, and then maybe the stress of that exacerbated it. But I just remember feeling like I was dying. And I went to see a GP, and she said, "Let me look in your eyes. No blood test, guys, no
Yeah.
blood test."
Wait, this is back home, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
She said, "Let me look in your eyes. Let me look at your nails." And she says, "I think your iron levels are low."
Wow.
So yeah, it was a very stressful experience. And I remember while I was doing it, I resented work because obviously there were a lot of my peers that were doing it full time. Their parents could afford it. And I resented having to work. And I think
Okay.
maybe about 2.5, 3 years in, I realized that actually work was supporting me to go to school,
Right.
and that I shouldn't resent work because, they were, and also, like I said, they were very accommodating. But the reality was that I had to work. And I remember sometimes being in study groups with people, being on campus until 11 o'clock
Wow.
at night.
Yeah.
And putting on weight, getting into debt. My sister gave me a credit card and I would just go to the KFC and swipe. Maxed it out.
But the KFC in Jamaica is nice.
But
It's nice.
but it was just being on campus and hungry.
Yeah.
And I actually started dating my husband while I was at university.
Okay, nice.
Which was nice. So there were times when I'd be up there studying until 11 and he'd come and collect me to take me home.
Right.
That's a sweetheart.
So
Yeah.
were you living at home then and going to uni?
So I was living with my brothers just outside of the city.
Right.
So I would be, because the university is so Jamaica, Kingston and St. Andrew are sort of border parishes.
Yeah.
So the university is sort of on the border of Kingston and St. Andrew, if you like. So I was traveling from, sort of, and then I lived in St. Catherine. So I'd have to leave Kingston, travel to St. Catherine. Yeah. So it was quite a trek going to university,
Yeah.
traveling between.
I think my transition was quite adventurous, I must say, because I was in a boarding school, a girls' boarding school from secondary school, from class 1 right up to my A levels at Gayaza High School. So I was used to the boarding kind of life, and my home was in Gulu, which is northern Uganda, is about 300 kilometers from Kampala. So I was used to traveling to Gayaza and would go home during the school holidays. So when we went to university, that was another adventure. But this was now actually having to move into a hall of residence. And that was something else. Wow. And we did settle down. We did settle down to that kind of life. But I was already used to being away from home, so to speak.
Oh, yeah, because of boarding.
As a boarding.
As a boarder. And then I was in Africa was my university hall.
Africa.
Africa. The name was Africa.
Oh, yeah, we have
Africa
building
Hall.
names.
Yeah, Africa Hall was my boarding school. My hall of residence. Yeah.
I remember hall of residence. So when I first started, I always made it clear I'm having ensuite because
Not share with nobody.
bathrooms, no. I said I'm having ensuite. So it's slightly more expensive, but so over here we could apply for grants, student loans. And I didn't get bursaries, but we did get some kind of financial support and stuff like that. And I worked part-time as well to kind of supplement that. But I was clear, ensuite all the way. And I'm glad I never looked back, and I always made sure I stayed in ensuite.
You were fortunate. We were
I know.
three in a room.
In a room?
Yeah, we were three. It was a large enough room. So
Okay.
3 in a room. And I was fortunate that
Oh, wow.
Africa Hall was quite, I'd say, newly built. And though we had to share share the bathrooms, the toilets. That's why for me, when I went to visit Belmarsh, the thought of having your own toilet.
I see. Yeah.
Wow.
The prison.
Wow.
Comparison
the
to your
prison.
experiences.
The grounds were lovely.
Yeah.
They had a chapel, a gym, a well-equipped gym.
Wait, you're talking
the
about
library.
the
No,
prison,
I'm talking about the prison.
Prison.
Because
Listen,
for me
Rose
that was
went
my
to a
first.
prison and she was impressed.
and they had better facilities. That is funny.
I wonder what it looks like now with the inmate, and it's a high security prison,
Yeah.
But for me, it was the fact that each room, each cell had its own
Rose
toilet.
has not stopped being impressed by that prison.
I know.
No,
the whole time.
That
the
was
whole
at the time. I was just comparing to where I'd come from, where.
So can I just clarify, Rose? Are you
Yeah.
saying that the prison settings and facilities were much better than what you had in boarding as a student?
No, not in not
boarding. Sorry,
not-
as in your university. Sorry.
If I compare to the Africa Hall was, as I said, a newly built block, but then we had 3 in a room, and then we had to
Right.
share the bathrooms and toilets. What I mean here is the fact that you had your
Own individual.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like having your own
ensuite, like I
suite.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ensuite all the
Prison
way.
on
Yeah.
suites. None of us
Yeah.
are going to prison, by the way.
No, no,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
not
no,
option.
no,
Cancel that out.
no.
Unless we went there to work.
No.
Oh, yeah. Opportunities. Never know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Are you finished, ma'am?
What about my ensuite experiences?
No, just about your university experience.
So before I finish, just wanted to add, we didn't have kitchens, so we actually had meals prepared for us. But it doesn't sound as glitz and glamour as it
Was
sounds.
it good?
It's cafeteria food. So think about it. You've got young adults, and you're giving them opportunities to have what you want to put together, or they can have burgers and chips and fizzy drinks. And it was a disaster. That's all
you
I can
didn't
say.
eat well at college.
My hot pepper sauce got me through a lot of these meals. That's what I'm gonna say. That's my
Why
response.
hot pepper sauce, though?
Because I love a bit of spice, and I feel like sometimes the food was. Let's not talk about the foods, but yeah,
It was bland.
It helped give it a bit more flavor. That's what I'd say.
What I mean, we could probably talk about what got us through university. I think what got me through university were those study groups.
Yeah.
Because I think prior to university, my high school experience was kind of varied.
Okay.
In terms of some periods of difficulty, some periods of okay, some periods of not feeling as confident about myself academically. So when I got to university, I think there's a part of it was like, actually, did I get in? Like, I actually got in. I couldn't believe I got in, right? And I remember the first course we had, they gave us assignments, and I was talking to a friend, and I'll probably give him a shout out. I don't think he'll mind me calling his name. His name was Christopher Castriotto.
Full name, everything.
Yes. Hey, Chris. And he was a journalist at the time. He was a mature student. Now, I went to university at 21, and I thought I was mature.
At 21.
Yes.
Well, it's not. Yeah.
But you know what? What it is because I didn't go straight to university from high school, so I taken a year out.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I was working for a couple of years because I left high school about 17 and a half. So between 17 and a half and 21, it's about 4 years. So when I got into university, I thought I was mature.
Okay. Fair enough.
And there were some people who had come straight from high school as well. But he was mature. And I remember the first time we got an assignment, or I think we had a test to do. And he said, "Oh, you're not going to prepare?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can't be bothered." And he's like, "This is university. They will fail you. You need to come."
Yeah.
And he kind of grabbed me along. We put together a study group with 2 other people and studied. And I think I got like an A or a B. And I was like, "Wow, I can do this."
Okay.
So, and that kind of shaped the next couple of years. So like I said, I think what got me through were those study groups where we'd be up late at night. Because I think I'm quite a conversationalist. And I think there's something about sitting down and talking about the work that helped it to stay in my mind as opposed to reading on my own. But there were other times where Andrew would sit with me and I read the books to him.
Oh,
Bless his heart.
gosh. Oh. So collecting you at night and letting you go through your literature with him.
he wasn't really proper listening, but he was.
No, but he
just
was
him
there.
being there
Yeah.
was.
Helped
He deserves a gold star. Shout out to Andrew.
You're gonna give him
Yeah.
a gold
Yeah,
star.
I'm giving a shout out to Andrew because that's a lot. I think shout out to him.
He's always been a rock.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I think I was 19 when I was 19 when I went to uni, and for me it was the friendship groups that got me through as well. I think there's something about the importance of friendships,
Yeah.
and it was an opportunity to grow as well and experience life outside of boarding school.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you still
yeah.
friends with the same individuals?
Uh, Not really. It's been
Okay.
a long time. It's
Yeah,
been a
yeah,
long
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Understandable. Yeah.
What got you through?
I feel a mixture of family and friends because obviously the friendship groups, like you said, Rose, it was really nice having that social element.
Yeah.
But there's times when I just needed to offload and I just needed, and who knows you best than your family.
Yeah.
And when I say family, that's my parents, it'll be my brother, definitely. And those are the main three, I'd say.
Yeah.
That's good. So there's university and then there's career. I mean, let's talk about what have been some of the highlights, maybe high points in your career. Who wants to start?
Why don't you start?
Highlights.
Yeah.
Lord of gosh. Highlights. I think maybe one highlight would have been going to South Africa. I think I mentioned before.
Yeah, it's nice.
And meeting people like Jesse Jackson. I was only 19 at the time.
Wow.
So I didn't quite understand the significance of it. And it's only years later when I look back. Because at 19, it's just, I'm going... Something to remember, though, as you mentioned parents. I remember my dad walking me through security. It was my first time flying from Jamaica, and the flight was 23 hours.
That's long.
Wow,
That is long.
So I had to fly 9 hours to, I think, either Heathrow or Gatwick. Then I had to get on a shuttle, change airports, and the layovers were long. Then get a flight to Cape Town and another flight to Durban. Oh, gosh. But I remember being at the airport and my dad walking me through security, and I'm walking through real confident, feeling good about myself, until he gets to a checkpoint where the security officer says, "I'm sorry, sir, you can't go beyond this point." My heart sank.
Yeah.
Like, just knowing I didn't have daddy.
Yeah.
And I remember my eldest sister was so anxious. Hey, Denise. You see how many people I've called out
You called
today?
out a lot of people today. Yeah.
And I got to London and I got some coins. She's the first person I called, not my parents. Because I felt like my parents were not anxious, probably excited. But like I said, my dad walked me through. But my eldest sister, she's like one of the parents. I mean, a sibling family of 8.
Yeah.
The eldest girl, she became one of the parents.
Is she the eldest child or just the eldest?
She's the oldest child.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember her being so anxious. So I got to London, found some coins, found a payphone, plopped the coins in, dialed her number.
Payphone, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, "Hello, is this Denise?" I put on a British accent as well.
Wait, can we just rewind that? One second. Sorry. What was that? Can we do the British accent again? I want to see if it's authentic. Go ahead.
Listen, first of all, I've been here for a while.
I know, but go on.
at the time, I was like, "Hello, is this Denise? This is Anita. I'm calling from London."
London.
And I remember I could hear her cracking up on the other end of the line. But it was my way of saying to her, I'm fine.
I'm safe.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then flew to South Africa, got picked up by the family we were staying with and taken to their property. It was a white family.
Okay.
We stayed in the suburbs of South Africa. It was a good trip, but also a sad trip. Because I remember being there with my manager at the time. Hey, Joan. And we're still friends. And she said to the hostess, I like going for walks in the morning. Can I go walking? And she said, actually, no, because you're a black person. They'll say you're trespassing and you could get shot.
Wow.
And I was like, this is South Africa. And while I was there as well, we would get taxis from the International Cricket Stadium to get back home. And I didn't quite clock it, but most of the times we got a taxi, it would be an Asian person or probably a white person. And one night I got into a taxi with a man who was indigenous, and he was scared to drive to where I was staying. He actually pulled over at the police station
Oh dear.
and asked for escorts, for the police to escort him.
because he's fearful for himself going into those areas.
And I remember being a little bit annoyed and thinking, what's wrong with this man? But my friends who were there with me from the US explained, they said actually, because of the apartheid regime, and even though it had ended, because that was 2001, he was still anxious and nervous. So it kind of brought home to me what she said about don't go running because you could get shot because you're a black person.
Wow.
And while I was there as well, we used to walk around through the streets. There are a lot of stalls, vendors, people selling. And I remember we always wore our badges so they knew we were international delegates. And one day I forgot my badge.
Oh dear.
I was walking with a group, split up from a group. And I remember a man shouting at me in the stall area saying, "Get out of here, go home, what are you doing here?"
Wow.
And I remember standing back and looking at him and saying, "Excuse me?" And I think once he heard my accent and he realized that I wasn't South African, he kind of froze and went behind his stall. But I just remember thinking, God, this is South Africa. And even I remember when we were in Cape Town and we went to the areas where most of the black South Africans lived. And it was these 1-bedroom zinc thatch houses where the blacks live. But, you know, the white South Africans lived in the suburbs where there was a lot of land. So, yeah, and even though it was and even coming back as well, there was a air hostess that was really rude to me. I remember showing him my passport and he was just shouting at me for no reason. It felt like he was just doing it because he could do it.
Yeah.
And there were some girls stood behind him who were just giggling. And I just thought to myself, is this really happening? Because, you know, I had this idea of going to Africa, you know, a black country. And it was good in terms of the highlights, in terms of hearing people like Fidel, you know, Castro and Winnie Mandela and Kofi Annan at the time, and the symbolism of it, and meeting people like Jesse Jackson. Danny Glover was there as well. But it was also very sad in terms of the racist undertones that were there.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow. That must have been an amazing experience overall, though.
Yes. It was, like I said, because I was 19. I remember when my manager first came to me and said, "Oh, you know, I'm going to a World Conference Against Racism in South Africa in September." And in my head, all I knew about Africa at the time were starving children on TV.
Oh.
I was so ignorant, right?
At least you can admit your ignorance.
I was ignorant. And so I was only 19.
Yeah.
And so when she said it to me, I said, no. And I remember going home and saying it to my brother, "Hey, Amar." And he said, "You stupid girl." He said, "Do you know how developed South Africa is?" He said, "Go back to work and go tell your manager you want to go."
Shout out Omar.
He's plain speaking. And that's what I did. And I remember her having to help me fill out the application to get the sponsorship from the UN. And I made a bargain with God. I was like, if you make me go, I'm going to go and be a witness for you. And it came through. I got to go. But
That was a great experience. I've never turned down such an opportunity.
Oh, gosh. Any opportunity to travel, right?
Well, I mean, you see, at the time, you weren't as ignorant as I was. I was ignorant.
I get it.
And I think the other thing about it, because I don't want us to go into the race talk too much, but the other highlight for me was I'd come out of a time in my life, because I was 19, where I really hated my skin color.
All right.
Didn't feel very confident about myself as a black person. And I think there was something about going to South Africa which was transformational. Being caught up in that movement around anti-racism, learning about, you know, sort of slavery or colonialism, the recognition of why, as a people, we hate our skin color. And just coming back home feeling like I could take on the world. Like my confidence soared, you know, and just culturally, just the experiences was amazing.
It was about like finding yourself, would you say?
Yeah, I really felt like I did. It was a really amazing experience.
Yeah, South Africa's on my list. Definitely. Writing that down. Thank you. I'm still trying to think about my highs and lows. Rose, have you thought of anything? Put us on the spot.
I can't think of any. I think we were only at Goldsmith, I think we were only about 5 black students, and the rest were white.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and can't think of any. To be honest, I can't
Career
think of
highlights.
any career highlights. It's just going through uni and getting a job. I suppose that would be my highlight then. Getting
Yeah.
a job after uni. Oh, nothing spectacular. Nothing that stands out for me.
Highlights. I think going back to when I talked about wanting to be a teacher from before, the fact that I actually have a fellowship qualification. So
Yeah.
like I guest lecture,
Ooh.
and I'm able to go out as part of my teaching consultancy role.
Yeah.
So there's always that aspect of wanting to teach inside.
in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd say that
Right,
would be something
yeah.
that I could definitely say is one of
Yeah.
One
the
of the
highlights.
for you.
I suppose for me it would be, I think I've really enjoyed my social work journey because
Okay.
I feel that I've experienced working in every sector of
Yes, you have, Rose.
Come on, Rose.
Social
Tell
work.
us. Tell us, Rose.
right from
Go
the
on.
front through to living care. I have
Yeah.
worked in every aspect of social work. I was also in a court team, became a consultant practitioner. I think the most interesting thing with me is right now, what I do is I do a lot of training.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Come full circle.
It's come full circle back to
that
teaching
teaching
Yeah,
element.
yeah.
yeah, back to teaching, and I really enjoy what I do. I love teaching. I love training. I love supporting the development of others. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
really
nice.
enjoy that.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah,
And
it's
to add to
got
that,
back,
yeah, that
full
cycle.
cycle.
To add to that, I think one of you, both of you, for Rose and yourself, Anita, a highlight is meeting myself. Because
Jesus.
but all jokes aside, I
Yeah.
think that the meeting you guys obviously would be one of
Yes.
another highlight for me. Just in fact of like the relationship
Yeah.
that we have.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe mostly Rose. Partly you, but that's the fact. Like,
You
look
need to
at that.
take it back, because people are gonna watch this. So be good to me.
I'm always good to you. I have to think about that.
Shiro Wilson Morrison.
Full name terms.
Yes.
Okay. But meeting both of you would be a
Thank you
highlight
very
because,
much.
like,
Definitely.
we've now developed Arc Logos.
Yes.
And I think
yes.
that kind of brings us on to explaining a bit about
What Arc Logos
what Arc
is.
Logos. Yeah, what is Arc Logos?
You like explaining
Arc
the
Do
the
I?
act-
Sorry, that. We're gonna be laughing the whole time.
No,
but I just like the
good.
fact that it's our
Laughter is
initials.
Tell us, Sherelle.
Tell us. Just the A for Anita, R for Rose, and C for Sherelle.
Yeah.
And also the aspect of the Ark within Noah's Ark, and we're all into our faith.
Yeah.
We identify as Christians.
Yep.
Yes.
And we put
We
God at the
identify
center.
as-
Yeah, we are.
Okay, we're Christian.
We are Christians. Yeah, you agree?
Yeah.
And we put God at the center, and the fact that Ark with Noah's Ark, it's a play on words. And then the Logos, Anita.
Logos means the word of God.
Amen.
Yes. And I think obviously it's us positioning ourselves as coaches. So whether it's well-being coaching, yours is career development,
Personal and career development.
and Rose performance coaching,
Yes.
and thinking about how we position ourselves in that way. So, do you know what? I'm so passionate. So a
You
lot
are.
of things for me jump out as highlights.
Go ahead.
So I think obviously, the stuff around South Africa was 2001. That was my early career. And similar to both of you, I wanted to get back into something where I was developing people,
Yes.
which is what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And I think it's still social work.
Okay.
So it is training the students, the newly qualified social workers, the practice educators. It's providing support, but loving the coaching. And I remember a couple of years ago saying to my manager at the time that I wanted to do a coaching course and doing a 5-year plan. So going back to being in frontline practice in 2016, feeling like I want to do something else. And I remember going to a women's economic development conference. A friend of mine dragged me, Sharon. And listen, so many people are being called out today. And we were told to go away and do a 2-year plan. But I did a 5-year plan because when I came to the UK, in my head, I had a 5-year plan, but I hadn't written it down. So within
Okay.
my 5-year plan, I said I want to support students. I want to support newly qualifieds. I want to do training because that was something that was always in my background. And I wanted to be in that role to develop people. And a year later, a role opened up for me to get into that role. And so again, and in that 5-year plan, I also put I wanted to be a coach as well.
So you've always known.
You'd always known.
I don't even know when I wanted to be a coach. You know, I think somewhere along, maybe it was about a year into this role or a year before, I started thinking about coaching and what coaching is. And for me, how I define coaching is helping people to maximize their full potential. So I read a lot of Rick Warren. I don't know if you know him. He has a book called Purpose Driven Life.
Okay.
And I've been reading his devotions for years. And he always talks about that whole thing about purpose driven life and about helping people to maximize their potential. And he has this acronym called SHAPE, where he said everybody that's born, you're given 5 cards. SHAPE is your spiritual gifts, your heart, your abilities, your passion, and your experiences. And those 5 things help to define who you are and where you should be. And so for me, it was that sense of a lot of, NQSWs coming through the door, students, people who are at the beginning of their career. And I feel like catching people then and being able to coach them then is the best time because you're helping people to shape their careers.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's how I developed the 5-year career plan, which we now use,
We
Yeah.
do. It's part of our inductions.
as
Yeah.
part of supporting people. But so like I said, it was part of the 5-year plan, write the vision plainly. I did a
Yeah.
vision board as well.
Yeah.
And I said it to my manager. And then it turned out that the partnership we were a part of were actually offering to train 20 people in the partnership for free.
Yeah.
So I went and did the coaching certificate at Kingston. I think you did it.
I did it at Kingston as well.
And you as
Yeah.
well,
Through
Shira.
my teaching
Yeah.
consultancy
Yeah.
with Kingston as well.